Motion would do is stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Bierstead.
Here.
Bjork.
Here.
Carroll.
Here.
Downing.
Here.
Morset.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Odine.
Thanks, Amy. Next we have the approval of the minutes from the December 10th meeting.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion, we approve the minutes from December 10th.
Second.
First and second on the minutes. Question or comments? Alyssa's not, is she on?
Yes.
So we need a roll call?
Yes. Carroll.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Morset.
Yes.
Odine.
Yes.
Downing.
Yes.
Bierstead.
Yes.
Bjork.
Yes.
Okay, next move on to approval of the bills with Councilmember Bjork.
Well, let me put it this way. I approve them, but I don't have the number in front of me. And I know it's 1 million something, and I reviewed and looked them all over, but I don't have it on my sheet for the exact number. So, but I did review them all.
I can't find it.
We'll get it here in a second.
It's not on the agenda,
Oh, I thought it was in there.
on the day of agenda.
No?
Oh,
It's down here. Looks like the clerk might be.
One moment, we'll look it up for you. Do you want to skip that item and come back to
yeah,
it?
we can come back.
I have it.
Oh.
It's for 1 million.
Yep.
Sorry, yeah, just like you, $1,079,123.62.
2 cents. All right, so I move for the approval of, for the bills of $1,079,123. So let me do that again, $1,079,123.62, with everybody else's approval.
Second.
Okay, first and second on the bills. Any questions or comments? Amy?
Downing.
Yes.
Bierstead.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Morset.
Yes.
Odine.
Yes.
Bjork.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
That's the
Okay.
hardest I've ever worked for.
Yeah.
those.
Yeah. Okay, next go on public comments. If there's anybody in the audience has anything like to say, come on up. Yep, 2 minutes as always.
Benjamin Lee Fox, 222 Lou. As you said, as always, but I've been coming to these meetings for almost a decade. So over time, things do evolve, things change. So tonight, thank you for speaking tonight. Please begin by stating your name and address. Lately, I've been trying to live more in the present. So if you're living more in the present, your address isn't an X, Y, and a Z. It's also a time. It's 4 dimensions. Where I am is where I'm present. If I'm resident in the moments of what I'm living in, my address right now is 222 Lewis Street. If I'm trying to live in this time will never come again. So as we look in the national news right now, when people say they lost their homes, how can I lose my home if I'm living in the present? So, I mean, it's hard for you to get something, like, I go to a lot of public meetings, and it's always at the discretion of the presiding officer. Mayor Tolan, you create the rules for how we have public discourse here. If you're limited to, say, residents, citizens, community members, that changes over time as we change how we perceive our world. So it's also try to speak loudly and clearly. As you can tell, I'm emotional, so it's hard for me to speak loudly and clearly. There's a 2-minute limit. I appreciate that because it makes me focus on what I want to speak here, so I don't spend here for hours making a political speech. And then staff will call you when it's your turn to speak. If you go to a county board meeting, you have to just write on a comment card the topic I would like to speak to, and the clerk hands it to the presiding officer, and then I'm allowed to tell what you say. So with that, I thank you. And one last comment. I would like to, yes, thank you. For last comment, I would like to reconsider a shorter term of only to April of 2023 for the mayor's appointments, instead of what it is right now, the terms on the historical preservation side, that their term limits only be at April of 2023. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Okay.
Hi, I am Melissa Abdush. I live at 859 Brentwood Circle. Many of you know me as Mimi of Mimi's Cookies and of the leader of the River Falls Business Leaders. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the latter. There are many things to love about River Falls, and the one in particular I'd like to address tonight is that we have more than 170 women-owned businesses within River Falls. So I'll repeat that, 170 plus of our businesses are owned by women. Given that fact, the business leaders have been very excited to put forth in the month of March, which is Women's History Month, recognition and celebration of such. And we will be having displays across the city celebrating women in history, not just in River Falls, but as it applies to all the things that we do day in and day out. And I would like to officially extend an offer, an invitation to the city that they also participate along with us throughout the month of March in putting up some display of their own within the city hall and maybe other city businesses and buildings that we can celebrate the contributions that women have made to either our city or just our community at large. We will also have some recognition from some network televisions coming out with camera crews and such, so it's really going to be a big deal. So hopefully we have the support of the city and we can see some great displays across town.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dana Linscott. I'm here on behalf of the homeless in River Falls and those who are on the edge of homelessness. Recently, one of the board members, through social media, informed the voters and the citizens of River Falls that the city employs a neighborhood resource officer who acts as liaison to community service providers and as a link for those who choose to accept referrals and assistance. This individual's name was Luke Axley, and he was marvelous at what he did. He did the best that he could with the resources that he had. Unfortunately, it's not true that there's a resource officer for River Falls anymore. There is no one that is filling that, and I've been told by police department representative that there's no plans on filling that gap that he left when he was no longer employed. That's a critical role, and it's about the only role that the city actively plays in helping those who become homeless in River Falls. I don't blame Ms. Odine for saying this. There's very little transparency between city offices and the citizens, and there's even less transparency between public servants that work for the city and the board members. I don't know how you can expect to be knowledgeable about what's going on in the city and to act fairly with the citizens if you're not adequately informed on what's going on in the city. I know most of you care about this subject. One or two have flat out said they don't. But I think most of you do. And if you believe something is going on and it isn't, That's a problem you should look into. Thank you.
Is there anybody else?
Here, Dan, I'd like to just, if I could, make a comment. I know it's not the city of River Falls, but I would hope that all of us have our thoughts and prayers towards Los Angeles County and the fires and the devastation that's going on there. So I know there's issues all over the world, and but that one's incredible, and not just because I have friends there, but it's a big deal.
Okay. Next, we'll move into, we'll close the council hearing and move on to the public hearing for first reading on ordinance 2025-01, which is, this is the first reading of the ordinance based on a unanimous petition requesting annexation from the town of Troy to the city of River Falls submitted by Joseph Casey on behalf of the Jeanette Jensen estate and parcels totaling approximately 26.82 acres adjacent to Paulson Road near Radio Road. The estate is working with a developer who intends to build 2 to 3 new multifamily housing buildings, either senior or market rate, near Paulson Road, and 1 single-family home at the top of the hill on the property. This will change the future land use classification from medium density residential to HDR, which is high density residential, and application of a zoning classification to R3 multifamily high density residence district to the subject property. Is there anybody in the audience has anything to say about this? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and reopen the council hearing, and if the council has any questions about this. Okay, move on to the consent agenda. First one is a resolution approving purchase of an electric department digger truck from Utility Sales and Services Incorporated. Next one is a resolution approving the purchase of a Timco 600 street sweeper from Environmental Equipment and Services Incorporated. And I'll take a motion on these. Or, sorry, does anybody want to poll either one of these? Okay, I'll take a motion on
Mayor,
this. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor, I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda items 3 and 4.
Second?
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor, I just want to clarify on the street sweeper, the memo does correctly include that we're gonna keep, instead of trading in the existing, we're gonna,
Oh, keep the
we're gonna
old
keep
one.
it. I'll just with a caveat that city administrator has not approved a long-term keeping of that addition, so it's not in the capital plan for 2 yet. So we'll have a chance to evaluate that over the next year or 2 and then determine if we want to include a second sweeper.
Okay. Okay, so we have first and a second. Is there questions or comments? Amy?
Carol,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Bjork,
Yes.
Bierstead,
Yes.
Morset,
Yes.
Odine.
Yes.
Okay, next move on to Comptroller's report. Ms. Odine.
Thank you. The Comptroller's report for December 2024. General fund revenues through the end of December were $14,060,374, or 103% of total budgeted revenues for the year. Revenues in December included $171,089 for miscellaneous revenue for the Thompson annexation, $78,438 for Rural Fire Association fee, and $7,717 for vehicle registration fees. Expenditures through the end of December were $12,969,748, or 95% of total budgeted expenditures for the year. As of December 31st, 2024, net revenues over expenditures were $1,090,626. Of course, final revenue and expenditures for fiscal year 2024 are subject to review and revision over the course of our end-of-year audit process.
Thank you. Okay, next we move on to Administrator's report. Anybody has anything for Scott? Scott, do you have anything for us?
A couple of updates for the January 14th meeting. Council is likely aware from communication previously, but the Water Resource Development Act bill was passed on January 4th. This is the bill that we requested Representative Van Orden and Senator Baldwin. Includes some language that increases the maximum project funding in the CAP 206 program from 10 million to 15 million. This is the federal portion of the funding. This definitely benefits the Kinney Corridor project. We'll provide additional $5 million in federal capacity towards that project. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is reviewing the bill language, and they'll come up with future guidance for us on how that will be implemented. But that was very helpful language, and we appreciate the help of our congressional delegation for securing that. It helps us keep on the path that we've established for the Kinney Corridor. Also want to indicate to the council, we have applied for Economic Development Administration grant in late December of 2024. That's a $2.2 million grant. This grant is the same program that we utilized in partnership with River Falls Economic Development Corporation for the initial construction of the St. Croix Valley Innovation Center. This would be for the planned phase 2 additional industrial space, if successful. Again, that's a partnership where the city is not contributing cash to that project at this time. It would be federal money and equity and assets of the River Falls Economic Development Corporation to secure that addition. A couple just heads up, we'll talk about them in much more detail, but to save the date for Back to Our Future, the State of the City, March 4th, 2025, in the morning at Tattersall Distilling. We look forward to meeting with the community and talking about the accomplishments of 2024 and looking forward into the future. And another thing, as staff was reviewing the legislative priority workshop and getting prepared for that, we were happy to see that we had 6 objectives that the council gave us last year, and we were able to accomplish all 6. So we'll have some good news to report at the legislative priorities workshop, and talk with you about what the next 2-year legislative priorities agenda looks like, as well as the mayor and I are scheduled for a trip to DC. And we've also invited and already confirmed meetings with local legislators. So we appreciate support of the council as we work through those things. I'd have any other questions for the administrator, be happy to take.
You have any? No? Okay, just got a couple of good news articles for January 14th meeting. I'd invite everybody to join members of the council and I at the cookout conference, or actually, it's not a cookout conversation, it's a cocoa conversations on February 20th at Hoffman Park from 4 to 6 p.m. We'll have hot cocoa and sledding for the kids if the weather permits, and give us everybody an opportunity to talk about things that are on their mind, and I hope to see everybody there. Another thing is last Thursday, January 9th, was Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, and I wanted to just take a second to say how much we appreciate the work of our officers, everything they do on a daily basis. Thank you all for helping keep River Falls safe and making it a great place to live and work. And then I have a couple announcements I need to make. I'd like to reappoint Jane Hoffman through January of 2028 to the Historic Preservation Commission. I'd like to reappoint Julie Hubble through January of 2028 to the Historic Preservation Commission, and reappoint Mark Anderson through January of 2028 to the Historic Preservation Commission. And I'll take a motion on that.
I
move. Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept your appointments.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
we gotta do
sorry.
roll call.
Sorry, Amy.
Okay. Bjork,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Odine,
Yes.
Morset,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
Bierstead,
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
First and second to adjourn, all in favor? Oops, sorry. Amy?
Bierstead,
Yes.
Bjork,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Morset,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
and Odine.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
One more good news later on a hot tea.